Hey y'all, I wanted to take just a few minutes here and talk maybe with a little more detail about the Winter Worship Leader Zoom group. Uh, Maybe you're hearing about it for the first time right now, or maybe you've been thinking about jumping in for the last few weeks. But wherever you're at, whatever stage you're at, registration is wrapping up in a few days. This Thursday night's the final day to register. So if you're interested in joining, now is the time to join. But I wanted to go through maybe just a handful of FAQ kind of questions to give you a better idea of what the Zoom group looks like, to help you decide, like, is this a good fit for me? So a handful of thoughts. So number one, what is the Worship Leader Zoom group? It is a 12-week group where basically like a handful of us, 7, 8, maybe 10 people, will meet once a week for an hour on Zoom to walk through the process of learning how to lead worship out of connection with Jesus, the connection that we build with Jesus off stage. How do we cultivate, develop that, and then lead out of that place on stage? Why, or what's the kind of, why did I start hosting these Zoom groups? I led worship for almost 20 years at various churches, ministries, events, and over that time logged in maybe close to 10,000 hours of live worship leading. And a few years ago, I realized that I didn't just want to sit on just all the things that I'd learned over the years. And while I don't really consider myself a teacher, I do care about just sharing anything of value related to my own worship leading journey that I could pass along to other worship leaders, to the next generation of worship leaders. So that's kind of the why behind the what. I about 4 years ago began these Zoom groups. So it's been 4 years, and we've had over 250 people from all over the place, all over the globe. Themes. What about what's the focus of the Zoom group? The overarching idea or theme is leading worship out of connection with Jesus, the connection that we cultivate with Jesus off stage. And so I've broken up the focus over that 12 weeks into 3 distinct phases. So the first phase, the first few weeks, is stepping into simple rhythms that will help us strengthen and cultivate our connection with Jesus off stage. Silence and solitude, the word, emotional health, just a handful of different things that will help us go deeper in our own life with Jesus, sitting at his feet. The next phase would be learning how to access that connection that we cultivate with Jesus on stage when we're leading worship and there's all the external and internal traffic coming at us, right? How do we weave through that and find how do we go vertical in the midst of all of that? And so we talk about that. We talk about spontaneous worship a fair amount. And then the final phase is how do we build bridges and remove barriers for our worship teams and for the rooms that we lead to join us to step into that connection with Jesus in worship. So that's kind of an overview in terms of the themes that we'll be focused on. What about, the format, like the group, like why a group format? Because we could just do pre-recorded training videos, and that's fine. Those can actually be very beneficial, but the reason for the format, like the small group format, handful of reasons, but I think one of the primary ones would be when we gather together in a small group setting, even if it's over Zoom, right? It's not in person, but even just virtually, I think we grow. I think the growth goes deeper. For example, let's just say I'm sharing some sort of a thought about worship leading, and it triggers a thought in someone else on the call, like another worship leader, and so they share, whatever their thought is, and that thought is exactly what another worship leader on the call needed to hear right at that moment. There's just something about doing it together where we go further, I think. So that's why we do it in a small group format. Practical things like cost. So the worship leader Zoom group is a decent financial investment, like a piano lesson or a voice lesson is a decent financial investment. With that said, we've got payment plans, we've got potential course offset options. So if the finances would be like a potential roadblock for you, reach out to me. We can troubleshoot. What about time, like time commitment schedule, right? Let's just, your life is busy, your life is full. Would you be able to commit to this for 12 weeks? And my answer would be, if you can spare 75 minutes a week, you can do this. What else? I feel like there was something else, just like a practical thing, and I'm drawing a blank. I'm not thinking of it. But hopefully some of this info helps you just to know, like, would this be a good fit for me? One other thing I wanted to mention earlier, in terms of just theme and focus and the structure for the Zoom group. The Zoom group, in addition, I think, to it being a great place for deeper growth, I think it's also a helpful space to process and share some of your own worship leading challenges. When we lead worship, the obstacles that we run into are unique to what we're doing. Maybe some of it, like another leader in your church might be able to relate to, or maybe even like someone else on the team. But some of it's going to be unique and specific to like what you are doing when you're leading worship. And it's hard to find a space to bounce ideas off and ask the questions and just even process what you're up against. This is a space to do that, because myself and the other worship leaders, like we're able to listen and then maybe even offer some feedback. And so, I think one more thing that's just helpful about this kind of a format. Okay, so if you're hearing me share all this and you're thinking, yes, this is something that I want to do, like you actually want to walk through the process with myself and a handful of others, if you want a safe space to process some of the challenges that you're walking through as a worship leader, I want to invite you to join us this winter. Reach out to me by this Thursday, and we can chat more just via email. My email address, I'll say it here in the video, but I'll put it in the notes for this video too. Jon, no H, Jon, at Jon Thurlow, last name Thurlow, so Jon at jonthurlow.com. And hope to see you with us.